Welcome to RSA Conference. We're here recording live from Broadcast Alley in Moscone West. This interview is sponsored by DigiCert. I'm your host, Mandy Logan, and joining me is Amit Sinha, CEO of DigiCert. Amit, welcome.
Thank you, Mandy. It's a pleasure to be on the show here.
It has been fantastic. I'm so glad we had a few minutes to talk right before because you learned how much of a certificate nerd I am, even though we have many other things to discuss. I'm really intrigued by your take on, I noticed in some of your information you said that even in just the past 2 years, the degree of digital trust has been pushed to its limits. Will you talk more about DigiCert and what is meant by that statement?
Yeah, thank you, Mandy. DigiCert's been the global leader of digital trust solutions, for many organizations. And people often ask me, what is digital trust? And it's foundational infrastructure that makes sure that all of these interactions that we have online, whether it's with your bank's website or your Alexa device or a piece of software that you download from the App Store, or just anything digital out there, how do you make sure that it is what they say they are? How do you make sure that when you communicate with these devices or systems, your communication is encrypted and secure? So digital trust is foundational infrastructure that makes all of this happen behind the scenes. And DigiCert's been the leading provider of all of these solutions for over 20 years. Over 80% of Fortune 500 organizations use us, and there are tens of thousands of organizations that use us, and there'll be several that don't even know that they are using us, but they do because it's such foundational infrastructure.
Absolutely. It is not, I feel like it's not just the backbone, because the backbone obviously is all the networking, everything else we have going on, but we're here in San Francisco, and we're near the Golden Gate Bridge.
Right.
And I think of the certificates as very similar to all the rivets, everything that is actually holding and making that structure secure and capable to make the traffic safe.
Yeah.
And my guess with the number of end devices that are using DigiCert, it's got to be in the billions.
Yeah, Mandy, you'd be surprised to know that 1 billion televisions in Europe all get their birth certificates and identity through DigiCert. Air conditioners in India that are now connected are getting matter-based certificates from DigiCert. DigiCert became the first independent certificate authority for the North American plug and charge standard. So when you take your EV and you just connect it to a charging network, how does it know it's Mandy's car or my car, and how does it know who to bill, right? So there'll be 75 billion IoT devices next year, 10 times more than humans, and these are all connected devices. How do you make sure that a device is secure and trustworthy? And it goes back to kind of basics, Mandy. Like you probably use an iPhone or an Android. How's that secured? It starts with so it's an Apple device. Apple has some trusted credentials, some trusted certificates on a TPM that makes that device tamper resistant. And when you get software on these devices, they're kind of signed by the Apple ecosystem. So this is a trusted device getting trusted software. How do you make that happen for $200, $300, $400 devices and not just kind of the expensive high-end phones? That's kind of the core trust challenge. And lots of interesting standards have evolved. For example, Matter is a standard for security and interoperability within your home. How do you make your Alexa device talk to Google Home, to an Apple device? And again, DigiCert was the first attested certificate authority for the Matter standard to allow some of these things to happen.
Well, that's fascinating, and I think for you, like with being part of DigiCert, which does have basically an ancient standing in the digital space, 20 years in this world, but you're also at the cutting edge with already thinking ahead on like quantum computing and being able to certify that the information being passed back and forth is actually from the correct source and going to the correct person or the correct endpoint.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit more on?
Yeah, absolutely. Quantum cryptography is one of the big topics being discussed at RSA. And why is that, right? A lot of the trust that we talk about are based on these mathematical problems that are, impossible for even the best supercomputers that exist today to crack, right? So for example, RSA 2048-bit encryption and authentication is used pervasively, and it's based on factorizing these prime numbers that, very large 1,000, 2,000 digit prime numbers that'll take tens of thousands of years, right, on traditional computers. But a quantum computer, because it has spooky properties like superposition and can exist in these multiple parallel states, can, if there was a stable quantum computer with enough qubits, it could basically break all of these codes in minutes. And so the very foundational trust infrastructure on the internet, whether it's trusting your bank's web server or signing a document and making sure that it's not being tampered with, or software or IoT, all these things are based on that same math, right? Which is vulnerable to quantum computers, right? Now there's a race going on between IBM and Microsoft and Google to develop quantum computers, and it becomes a double-edged sword. On one hand, they can solve classes of problems that, is just impossible today, like climate modeling or figuring out, the next protein molecule, right? But it also makes current cryptography vulnerable. So what's happening is, NIST is pushing out these 4 post-quantum cryptography algorithms, one for encrypting keys and 3 for signing content. And it'll be available as FIPS standards in later this summer. So a lot of our customers are beginning to talk about crypto agility. How do I, it's kind of like a Y2K problem of our generation. How do I upgrade all this foundational cryptographic infrastructure to make it quantum safe?
Which is absolutely mind-boggling. And it's also exciting to be at this point in time where we get to see the foundational parts of quantum computing. We're getting to see that bedrock laid, and you're getting to be part of that. And even though we aren't to the point where we really have to worry about a brute force attack by a quantum computer taking 2 seconds, where we've done everything we possibly could to secure it, what are other unintended consequences of innovation that you do see and want to address right now?
Yeah, the other big theme, of course, the pervasive theme at RSA has been AI, right? And I've always said AI, when it comes to cybersecurity, is a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, it can make SOC teams operationally efficient. Cybersecurity and threat companies can use AI to do a better job of detecting threats, to analyzing next generation of threats and all of that. But those same generative AI tools can be leveraged to do a very targeted phishing attack with a deep fake. They can be used to automate a very aggressive, pen test-like campaign to break into your defenses, right? So it is a double-edged sword. It helps, security companies, but it also helps hackers become more efficient. And you need AI to fight AI, kind of almost like AI cyber warfare. But the other kind of unintended consequences around include, for us as trust authorities, and our overall solutions are designed to provide digital trust for the real world. And we talked about content. I mean, we're recording a video here, and how do I know that this video is not a deep fake, or someone has edited or changed what I was saying? So there's the whole content provenance angle as well, right? Like, media companies, and we're working with content platforms to essentially certify the authenticity of media, that this is truly where it came from, and changes have not
Actually,
been applied, right? So that's one area of unintended consequences, with deep fakes and what have you. The other is, the whole software supply chain, and I talk about this quite often. We work with a lot of software companies, and they're developing software. There's a mad rush to put in AI, and you really don't know what's inside these AI models, right?
Absolutely not.
You can find someone might have fine-tuned it with a backdoor, and
Yeah.
suddenly you have a model which is just numbers. It's a probabilistic model. You can't even ask the model to, give you the backdoor, or you can't analyze code snippets to say, this looks suspicious. So how do I protect my software supply chain with all of these, models, and this is a wild, wild west out there, to make sure that what I'm shipping as a software company, is trusted software, right? So we're working with, a lot of software and product companies to essentially, have a trustworthy supply chain, have components that have been inspected. Here's a software bill of materials. Here's the final piece of software that is signed by you, so it's kind of legitimate and authentic and tamper resistant. So it's back to, again, trust. Components are, you might have a hardware IoT device, you might have some software, making sure that all of these, when they come together, are trustworthy, is kind of core to our mission.
Well, and that right there, that being core to the mission of having the trust, that is the baseline factor that we as humans always search for. When there is no trust, you can't have no growth. You cannot go into the arts and creativity and looking forward to envisioning a society that
Right.
is healthier and does work better.
Right.
I'm curious, is there any one particular challenge for IoT devices that is near and dear to your heart?
Yeah, on the question of IoT, Mandy, it's think about the FBI did a survey and found out that over half of the critical medical devices which are now connected have all kinds of vulnerabilities, right? Now, you don't
Yes.
want your pacemaker to be hacked. You don't want your,
No.
infusion pump and glucose monitors to have, kind of jailbroken software running on it, right? So, I think the challenge with overall IoT is, first, they have limited resources. They're not like your iPhones and desktop computers, right? They are inexpensive, so cost becomes a factor. And you need, so DigiCert, for example, has an IoT Trust Manager solution that will integrate with your manufacturing line. So for example, if you're manufacturing air conditioners in Gujarat in India,
Right.
you might not have reliable internet connectivity, right? And you want to make sure that the certificates that will go onto these devices are available offline, and the whole process is integrated well with your assembly line, so you don't stall production because, I don't know, you didn't have cloud connectivity, right? So it is around bringing trust to these IoT devices. They are resource constrained. There are lots of different manufacturing environments, and DigiCert's IoT Trust Manager solution is designed to give you the flexibility, to give you over-the-air updates, to work in offline mode, to integrate with your manufacturing lines, and product security companies, whether it's on medical devices or EVs or TVs or air conditioners, they are able to incorporate that into their overall operational process.
Well, and that sounds like the beauty of mathematics that has already reduced then, because now you're talking about multiple countries, multiple devices, languages, mindsets, all of these things that go into the actual manufacturing. So whether it's on the software side, a hardware side, or just a regular IoT device.
That's correct.
Does it excite you to go like, wow, with what DigiCert is doing, being able to get to this mathematical baseline of ensuring trust, which ultimately helps each individual within each organization feel healthier?
Yeah, as a company, our mission is digital trust for the real world, right?
Right.
And a lot of the stuff that we do, Mandy, is so foundational, right?
Right.
When we talk to our customers in healthcare, trust equals life and death, right? So we take that responsibility very seriously. When we talk to our customers in finance, right? For them, trust is everything. You don't want
Right.
your financial, information to leak out, and when you when you're interacting with your banks, you want all of that to be trustworthy and reliable. So, um, trust is kind of the foundation of what we do, and it's our North Star, and we're really, really excited to be the kind of the global provider helping tens of thousands of customers, you know, become trustworthy.
That's awesome. Thank you, Amit, for your time, and definitely for anything increasing trust. We appreciate
Thank
this.
you, Mandy. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining Security Weekly. Please visit securityweekly.com/digicert RSAC to find out more. You can also check out all of our RSAC coverage at securityweekly.com/RSAC. Thank you.